Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time I'm going to be playing in one of my favorite tier 8 tanks in the game at the moment. It is the T-54 Mod 1, also known as the T-54 First Prototype. It's a tier 8 Soviet premium medium tank, and I love playing it for obviously the credit income that you get from this tank, and also that I get to train up my Object 140 crew at the same time, which is probably my all-round favorite tier 10 medium tank. Now you might be surprised, I've called this thing a medium tank and yet it's not going very fast, is it? Barely getting up to 40 kilometers an hour over the hard terrain of Stalingrad. And that's because this truly is a heavy medium tank, or a medium heavy tank depending on which way you want to look at it. It has the same armor as a T-54 at tier 9, that 120 millimeters of frontal armor, but having it at tier 8 just makes it that much more special. When you drop down a tier, so does everyone else's penetration. And when you angle this tank effectively, pretty much like this, the enemies are going to need 200 to 210 millimeters of penetration to be able to have a 50-50 chance of going through anywhere on this tank. And so that makes the T-54 Mod 1 lovely in this kind of a matchup. Now there are 5 tier 8 heavy tanks, sorry, 5 tier 8 tanks, some of them are tank destroyers and mediums on the enemy team, and a load of tier 7s. Now, it's not a perfect matchup if you wanted to be a filthy, filthy, filthy seal clubber in this tank. That's because there are no tier 6s on the enemy team. And those tier 6s will never have the penetration that they need to be able to reliably get through the front of this tank. But even tier 7s, when we angle our armor like this, have got very low chance of being able to get through us. That IS would have to hit our lower plate, but instead he's electing to fire high explosive rounds. Maybe he realizes that the 175 millimeters of penetration on his standard AP rounds are going to be no match for the T-54 Mod 1's frontal armor. So he's elected to fire high explosive rounds instead. So we get hit from the back. We've already put 1 round into 3 different tanks on the enemy team, and I'm trying to hold this flank as well as I can. This is going to be a tricky matchup because there are decent players on the enemy team in their top tier tanks. And so we're going to have to do some good work. This is likely to be a very close one. If you've watched a few of my videos, you'll know that my favorite matchups are about that 45 to 55%, where I feel like the teams are matched, and it's down to you and the impact that you can have in the game to try and sway the battle. And I'm going to be doing it by punishing this IS. My turret armor is not terrible. I do have a cupola on top of this tank that people can take advantage of, but this IS doesn't seem to be aware of that, and we are allowed to face hug him into submission, taking advantage of the very weak mid-plate of the IS. Now I take a look behind me and there's a stock Tiger 2. Well, it looked like a stock Tiger 2. Was it a stock Tiger 2? Coming in behind me. Just have a quick look. Yes, that is indeed a stock Tiger 2 turret, which means that he's probably going to get penetrated a lot if he goes down there. Now I get engaged from above, but luckily I don't allow myself to tunnel vision, and I now catch the T-34-2 in a face-hugging situation. His buddy comes up behind me and tries to hit me in the side, that T-34-1. I'm getting tag-teamed by Chinese medium tanks. But luckily for me, he realized that he probably couldn't get through the frontal part of our armor, and he decided to shoot the Tiger 2 in the butt instead. Having face-hugged him and now going after the T-34 Mod 1, we find a shot into his weaker hull armor. While his turret armor is very strong, his hull is no match for this 90mm gun that this tank gets, I guess, right? No, actually, sorry, it's 100mm. I thought, considering the alpha damage is 250, what caliber of guns do these Soviet medium tank get? But it's, in fact, is 100mm. But it's not going to be doing that 320 alpha damage that you get on the tier 9 T-54. Can you imagine how unbalanced that would be? So now we're going hull down on the wreck of the IS that we caused earlier. And this Challenger and the T-29 just don't really have the clout in their shots to be able to challenge us. And yet we can shoot the machine gun port on the T-29. I think about advancing, not sure whether the Challenger is going to come forwards or not. Don't want to give him the inside of my tank and just finish him off, thinking that the Challenger is going to come after me. So even though we've picked up 4,000 damage in this game and pretty much, I feel like, soloed 4 tanks, this game is certainly not secure now. So we pick up our 5th kill, finish off the Challenger, and now I think, how can we lose this situation? Quite often what you have to do in games is think, how can I lose? The The easiest way for us to lose right now is if that T-32 finishes off the IS. They're locked in some kind of mortal combat right now. And then he proceeds to cap with the Tiger that's coming up down the east, or this Tiger 2 that was last spotted in this location down the west. For all intents and purposes, we need to consider that these guys are going straight towards the cap circle, and then they would only need 33 seconds to be able to win the game. And when you're playing in the T-54 Mod 1, which isn't the fastest of tanks, as we can clearly see here, you do have to plan your engagements a little bit. Unfortunately for us, we miss that Tiger, unable to finish him off, and we get spotted in the process. The T-32 wins his duel with the IS-3 and finishes on a very healthy amount of hit points, which means that we're in a little bit of trouble here. So, priorities, priorities, priorities. We've got a Panther 2 in the enemy base. What is the best play right now? We've got to think on Stalingrad that there are lots of roads, there's lots of opportunities to get long shots down, so I might get shot from the left here by the T-32. We have a quick look at him, but he's luckily not down there quite yet. I want to kill that Tiger. Let's secure a kill on the Tiger first. And somebody's entered the cap circle. Now we don't know if it was the Tiger that entered the cap circle until now. Now we know the T-32 and the Tiger 2 are there. That means that we're only going to be engaging the Tiger, and so you see me reloading a high explosive round. Now why was I doing that? That's because the Tiger was last spotted with 10 hit points, and I pretty much have to splash anywhere on his tank, even with the low caliber 100mm gun that this vehicle gets, to be able to kill him. That's an easy shot into the back of his tank, picking up that 10 damage and our 6th kill of the game. Now, why am I being so cautious with my ammunition? Well, even though I feel like we haven't had terrible accuracy this game, because most of the engagements have been at that short to mid-range, look how little ammunition we have left on the T-54 first prototype. It only has 34 total rounds that it can expend in a game. Which means that you're going to be very hard-pressed to do substantial amounts of damage in a game if you don't accurately fire all of your shots. And we try and fire one through the truck into the back of the T-32 there, but luckily the Panther 2 on my team manages to shut him down, and now there is just a lonely Tiger trying to deal with a Jagdtiger 88 and a Panther 2. Luckily for us, it looks like that Tiger 2 is quite stock. Look how slowly he's turning around. We've probably damaged his engine. Try and fire into the back of his tank to set him on fire again, and he is turning very slowly indeed. No wonder he was unable to progress to the cap circle. Looks like we have found a wounded animal now. The Jagdtiger rushes in, gets in the way. Fair enough, buddy. Manages to finish him off. So what around here for the T-54 Mod 1 on Stalingrad, showcasing pretty much everything that's great about this vehicle. It certainly was a challenge, as you would expect in your 47%, as you do have to be able to have that impact in the game to come through with the victory. But of course, we were lucky with the matchmaking, the fact that we were the top tier tank, which amplifies the benefits of having that well-angled 120mm of frontal armor, as well as the 90mm of side armor that a lot of people underestimate, and it allows you to exaggerate the angling of the hull on this tank to still have effective side armor as well as frontal armor. Key moments from this game were prolonged engagements with the T-29 and the Challenger from medium to long range, where our armor would be most effective. Then we seized the initiative and we turned the tables. Usually heavy tanks hug medium tanks to death, but when you're playing in the T-54 Mod 1, you can do quite the opposite, as this IS managed to find out. Then we managed to battle our way out of this very tricky situation where we were locked in combat with a T-34-2, while there was also a T-34-1 managing to flank us. Luckily, with good marksmanship and using the mobility of our tank, we managed to keep our armor just enough to the relevant target and then take them out one by one. So while I do think that the T-54 Mod 1 is a fantastic tank, and it's also one of the best starting premiums in the game that can get you using that armor and rewards you for angling it perfectly, let's not forget that this vehicle does not have preferential matchmaking, and when you do have to deal with Tier 9 and even Tier 10 tanks that have more than sufficient penetration to be able to get through the front of this tank quite reliably, things don't always go as good as this. Nevertheless, let's just take a very quick look at the post-game stats. So a great result here for the T-54 first prototype. This was 7,502 experience for our triple, which will make my Object 140 crew very happy, and 137,000 credits. Towards the end of the game, we ran out of standard ammunition. You hardly ever have to do 5,000 damage in the T-54 Mod 1, and so we did waste a few credits on premium rounds at the end of the game, but still made an 88,000 credit profit. The fact that this tank can only carry 34 shells truly is one of the worst things about it. And thankfully with them, we were able to pick up a high caliber medal, a Top Gun, and unsurprisingly, a Steel Wall medal, blocking 3,270 damage this game against Tier 7 and Tier 8 opponents. This vehicle truly is a bully of the battlefield. In other news, my 300,000 subscriber replay competition is now closed, and I'm going to start looking through the 8,662 replays that you have all sent me, and expect some mega highlights coming up in the next month or so. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And if you want to see a full review of the T-54 first prototype, then simply click through up here or hit that more info icon in the top right hand corner of your screen to find out everything that you need to know about this tank and check out some more Ace Tanker gameplays. And let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about this vehicle. Have you picked one up? Do you hate it? Are you a Type 59 driver? Do you prefer this vehicle to the Type 59? And when you compare the stats of the tanks, they're not too far apart. It's probably only the preferential matchmaking that really is something that the Type 59 is desirable for. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.